time, so I was going to go back with a secondary question, but I think we want to try to wrap up the seminar, the webinar by the hour at least. So I will not ask the second question, but again, I want to thank you, and I hope this will give a better understanding to our audience in terms of what do we mean by the science policy interface and what kind of mechanisms and tools we need to sustain, invest in as we are moving towards UNOC, so that we can strengthen that process at all levels. So with this, without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to Ashok for the second part of the panel, which has a number of representatives from global oceanographic institutions to also take their pulse and understand their priorities as they are moving towards UNOC. Ashok, over to you.
Thank you, Julian. So now we go to the world. We go to eminent scientists, but eminent scientific institutions. You are a hive of ideas and projects from science to policy. The aim of you being placed towards the end of this discussion, we spoke about Barcelona, the outcomes, we spoke about Nice, the expectations, we spoke about different tools of measurements and of ocean prediction. For you now, maybe to share, if I may request you, picking up salient features, the très saillants of what you have just now heard, but more specifically in your institutions that you are directing, how do you project yourself towards Nice? And so since we have designed this fil from the US to China, passing from the Middle East, Paris, and India, we'll start from the beginning. If you allow me, Peter de Monacal, president of the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, to start this conversation for this last panel. Peter.
Thank you, Ashok, and it's good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're calling from. I see we have many hundreds of people on the call. It's my pleasure to join these talks, and I want to offer a special thank you to France and Costa Rica for co-hosting the UNOC in Nice in 2025. And as we've been hearing from the interventions so far, there are some really important takeaways to start with, and actually it's a great way to begin my intervention. As we all understand, the ocean is in a state of rapid transition as we speak. This is now the 14th consecutive month of record ocean warm temperatures that have been experienced this year and last year. So the ocean is in a state of really rapid transition. And these are, of course, putting at risk some of the very fundamental ecosystem functioning components of the ocean that we all depend on. So there's this real imperative to understand how the ocean changes are actually affecting the things that we care about most. The second point I'd like to offer is that the ocean is increasingly a focus of climate mitigation solutions, in particular marine carbon dioxide removal. And here I'd like to share just the position of many large ocean research institutions, the Woods Hole Oceanographic included. Some of you may know the Woods Hole Oceanographic, where roughly 1,100 scientists and engineers and technicians, global class ships, and large ocean observing capability as well. We're just one institution. We're going to hear from many others, but there's really a call to all of us across all member states, across all of these institutions, to really enhance our understanding, our measurement of the ocean, so that we can really understand not only the baseline function of the ocean, but also how it might be perturbed under some of these marine carbon dioxide removal experiments and simulations. We, of course, are not endorsing MCDR technologies, but we certainly do endorse the deployment of high-integrity, independent science to lead our understanding of this in close collaboration with partner nations and policy organizations as well. So this is really an invitation for a new era of ocean observing. And here I'd like to just echo what Joanna Post had mentioned with Goose, that this is really an opportunity for us to come together to really bring our collective talents to bear on what a new era of ocean observing looks like. The ocean was once thought too big to fail, and as we've seen in the last 14 months, it is changing extremely rapidly in ways that we don't understand, and these are just too big to ignore. It's not just an ocean in transition, but the ocean is, of course, being looked at for its ability to deliver mitigation at the gigaton scale. So what does this look like into the future? Our measurements today of temperature and salinity of the upper reaches of the ocean really need to be expanded to measure essential ocean variables such as nutrients and oxygen and pH and carbon speciation. Really an ocean internet of sensors that allows us to observe the ocean in much the same way that we do with the atmosphere. This is a call that's really coming to all of us, and it's really an invitation that was exemplified by the Ocean Declaration at COP28 last year, the Dubai Ocean Declaration, which called upon world leaders and policy makers to increase our knowledge of the ocean and to adopt these measures, both individually and collectively, to really understand how the ocean is changing through a new era of ocean observing. So I'd just like to close with a deep thank you to you, Ashok, and to this distinguished group. And would like to just further emphasize Olivier's point, which is that we really have to change the way in which science and policy work together. It can't be science just leading to policy. We really need to have science and policy working hand in hand all along the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your intervention. And I'll keep for your word of partnership and recall what Vidar Helgesen said of public and private sectors joining in these major challenges of the ocean and the ocean breakthroughs. We won't have the time to come back on that, but we are already working very closely with you and your team to have you definitely on board as we proceed to the co-construction, I would say, of the UNOC special events and the outcomes of the UNOC, which is co-hosted by Costa Rica and France. Now, please allow me to go to the Middle East and to the Sorbonne University Abu Dhabi with its Vice Chancellor, Professor Nathalie Braz-Martial. You organized, Nathalie, 2-3 weeks ago, a very important event where you launched with scientists the Institute, the Ocean Institute at the Sorbonne Abu Dhabi. And then we had the pleasure to collaborate with you and your team to organize a regional discussion as well. How do you react from where you are in the Middle East, in the Emirates, to the different proposals which have been discussed, Barcelona, Nice, the tools, and how do you see your institution first, but also the region engaged in towards the UN Ocean Conference in Nice? Nathalie.
Thank you, Ashok, and thank you very much for bringing me here with you to this discussion, very important discussion. I think for us it's essential to be here as the Middle East since a long time was not part of all those discussions we saw during the last COP28, and Peter just mentioned that it's a very important part of the world and we need to be more involved at the scientific level, but also at the policymakers level to make a change, counting with this part of the world. So we are very proud with Sorbonne University Abu Dhabi to be part of this partnership, as you just mentioned, Ashok. It's really important for us to bring our researchers, which are from the main part of the Sorbonne Paris, the Institute of Ocean in Paris, but who accepted to join us in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, to bring their science and their capacity of research here in the Middle East, in the ocean, specifically in the Arabic Sea, which is, I think, very important to study because it's a sort of laboratory of the main changes, the climate warming and sea level rising is quite most impressive here in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and it's important to have these very important coastal city joined to the UNOC and to be able to bring this expertise to study those changes as well I think in the same moment as the other cities in Nice in 2025. I think it's also very important because we can work together to understand better the plastic pollution in this particular space where the sea is quite small, and it's very easy to monitor and to analyze the change in this sea. It's also very important because we have a quite important mangroves here in Abu Dhabi, and we have a very important population of mammals of the dugong. So we have quite particularity which can be studied more specifically and bring those results in the next Nice summit. So we will be very, very happy to participate to this partnership in order to have more science implicate in the decision making by the policymakers.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Vice Chancellor, for your intervention. I would like to congratulate also Costa Rica. I know Gina Julian has joined, a special envoy of the president, and she'll be concluding this with Vladimir Jarez. But congratulate Costa Rica for having 3 ministers from the Middle East, one from the Emirates, one from Qatar, and one from Saudi Arabia, who were present at Immersion Change Costa Rica. So your region, Madame la Vice-Chancelière, is very much at the forefront after hosting the climate COP last year, is at the forefront of the ocean agenda. And that's, I think, very good news for all of us in the world. Speaking about the world, if you allow me, we'll go to an entire world and an entire planet, which is India, with the Honorable Secretary for Science, Dr. Ravichandran, who is also the president of NCOIS. And we spoke about NCOIS earlier. I don't know if you were connected when we spoke about the Decade Center within the IOC's network of Decade Centers. Dr. Ravichandran, the floor is yours, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, UNOP3 as well as IOC for organizing this webinar. It is very important. 1 year before, we have to plan many of such events so that we can crystallize when we reach the Nice conference. Of course, you all know that the ocean provides I always tell that ocean provides oceans of opportunities and seas of challenges. But now it is going in the other way around. It goes seas of opportunities and oceans of challenges. So it is imperative that we need to face the challenges and we need to mitigate these challenges. The opportunity, of course, includes both living and non-living resources. Of course, when we consider about the future priorities in the long term, we always think of 5 things, that is what is called food, water, energy, health. I mean, health means both health of the human as well as health of the ecosystem. And finally, in the climate change. Under these 5, we will be working towards all the people. So I think ocean will give a clue to address all these aspects, but it must be utilized by those in need, not those driven by greed. Of course, the science-based action for sustainability is crucial in order to protect as well as to preserve our ocean for future generations. By utilizing scientific data, both from in situ as well as from satellites, maybe remote sensing field, we can better understand the challenges facing our oceans and develop our solutions, effective solutions. So we need to have more and more observations. From the observation, we need to get the data to analysis, data analysis to information to knowledge base. From the knowledge base, we have to provide these services. So essentially, we need to translate science to services for the benefit of society. And then we need to develop a policy for governing our oceans. Like maybe we have to have a digital twins and maybe many policymakers, how they can understand. That way we have to make things. Of course, we need to work closely with the policymakers to co-develop evidence-based policy as well as move towards sustainable ocean management. Despite our efforts, I know that most of our ocean continue to face numerous challenges, especially both in terms of climatic stresses such as sea level rise, ocean warming, marine heat wave, and with increasing cyclone and hurricane intensity, coral damage, mangroves, and also acidification increase. All these climatic as well as non-climatic stressors such as what is called marine litter, over-exploitation, overfishing, and also some of the natural hazards such as cyclone, tsunami, and associated storm surges. All this is complicating our challenges. So it is our imperative that the challenges, whatever we are facing, so we need to develop new technology to observe as well as to understand, to harness, and so science-based mitigation measures for our oceans. I think one more important requirement is we need to develop a human capital and training for the sustainable utilization of ocean resources and also to mitigate various challenges what we are facing. And it is imperative that whatever earlier mentioned, we need to have a collaboration or interaction with the scientists and policymakers. Nowadays, we are not talking each other. The scientists versus policymakers, both are different track. I think we need to unison this both track. Of course, towards this, India has initiated Deep Ocean Mission recently to address these challenges through science-based actions, focusing not only technology, but also mapping various activities, biodiversity, and marine protected area, among other initiatives. In summary, with the help of data and science-based solutions and also cooperation, we can work towards overcoming these challenges, and we can harness the ocean also, but at the same time, ensure the health and sustainability of our ocean. It is imperative that we take action now to protect our ocean for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, Honorable Secretary, for your intervention. I was saying India is a planet by itself, but I must say that you have also a lot of regional cooperation, and you have the intention of organizing Blue Talks with the Indian Ocean, which is coming soon before the end of the year. And congratulations for your cooperation with many institutions in the world, but between NCOIS and Mercator International for the digital twin of the ocean, which is one of the big impact projects which are in the making. With the permission of everyone, and since time is short, but please, Professor Fang Li Jiao, please take your 3 minutes, which are distributed to everyone at par. We go from one Decade Center in India to another, because you are the director of the Decade Center of IOC in Qingdao, while also being an eminent professor and deputy director of the first Institute of Oceanography in Qingdao. Professor Fang Li, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ashok. I'm very honored to participate in this discussion. And I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to the host for inviting me and extend my appreciation for the meeting's emphasis on bridging the gap between science and policy. And I would like to convey 4 key points from my perspective. Firstly, it is clear that our ocean is facing severe and escalating threats, with our colleagues have started repeatedly today. All these threats lead to a cascade of adverse effects, such as ocean and climate disasters, which pose significant risk to human society. To mitigate this challenge, we urgently need accurate prediction of ocean climate conditions. Ocean observation is a basic tool in this endeavor, as it enhances our understanding of ocean climate. Based on these observations, numerous models predict ocean and climate change. Our team at FIO has made a lot of efforts on this. And one of the outputs is that we found the surface wave play a key role in dramatically improving our forecasting ability. So our PV theory paves a way for new generation model development, the continuation to our commitment on more accurate ocean and climate prediction is the Ocean to Climate Stimulus Forecasting System program. which is an approved UN Ocean Decade action. Multi-hazard early warning system will be developed through this OSF program, which of course will bridge the science and policy. Secondly, despite the advancements in ocean climate modeling, there is considerable variability in the accuracy of these simulations. Many models exhibit huge bias and inconsistency, making it a challenge to identify authoritative and reliable source of information. To address this, I would like to call upon high trusted organizations to spearhead a global effort in model intercomparison and validation in the coming UN Ocean Conference. A similar initiative in the climate science domain is a coupled model intercomparison project called CMIP, led by the World Climate Research Program. CMIP is a comparative analysis of a climate model has provided authoritative results that help the global community discern which model offers the most accurate simulation and predictions. A comparable effort for the ocean community would significantly enhance the credibility and acceptance of model outputs among decision makers. Thirdly, in addition to model accuracy, there is a critical need for actionable ocean information, especially for decision makers and the stakeholders who are not ocean scientists experts. While our scientists are adequate at interpreting complex observation and model results, this data set can be less accessible and informative to policymakers. Therefore, we must develop user-friendly public-facing products that translate scientific data into actionable information and science-based solutions. Imagine a tool that could compute the cost-benefit ratios of various measures for coming ocean hazards. Such a tool would empower decision makers to make informed choices quickly and efficiently, contributing to sustainable ocean management and governance. Furthermore, visualize the application are more also important by transforming